My name is Kathleen Laziza, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And while we were talking, you had mentioned that you knew somebody who had killed themselves, and you were about to say something, and I said, let's just save that.
Right.
Could you tell me about that experience?
Right. Yeah, I was talking about the first time I experienced somebody who took themselves out. And he was a fellow dancer to me. He was part of my company. And his name was Michael Schreiber. And he was really on an edge always. He was something about him was on an edge. Couldn't really figure it out. I mean, one of the things that's difficult in the art world is that, artists are always a little quirky. And so you can't really, you have to accept them until finally you really maybe realize that maybe there's something more to their quirkiness. They're just not quirky, There's maybe something ill about them. And so it really is hard to understand, but because initially you're just open to this person and you're working with them, so you're always trying to find the best part of them. But the thing with Michael was that he would always fall off this edge, whatever it was. I mean, if something didn't go right and people were upset, he would become very upset, not just like a little upset. So he really didn't have this way to sort of pull himself back. So we finished a project, and we were all getting excited about when we were going to show it and when it was going to be, how we were going to manifest it. And that, and basically he started to feel that things weren't going well for him, that he was having some employment issues, and he was having some transportation issues and stuff like that. And so we were trying to sort of help him through. Now, this was a long time ago. This is, phones weren't even in everybody's home even. I mean, if you wanted to see somebody, I got on my bicycle and I went over to go see them, or we met at common places and we selected times and stuff like that. So we're always kind of going to see each other at rehearsal. And so he was supposed to meet at the theater, and and so he didn't show up, and so we were a little concerned, but not really, super concerned. Just figured maybe he, managed his day or something. And so then we decided that we would let it go for the day, and then the next day we were supposed to get together, and he didn't show up. And so we said we must go to his house, and so we got on our bicycles. There was a group of us, and we went over there, and we found that his house was smelling of gas. And so we decided that rather than go in, we should call the fire department, because it's super dangerous to just, go walking into places if it smells like gas. So we called the fire department. The fire department came out. There was a whole big process with that whole thing, and they basically found him, and we found him, and he had asphyxiated himself in his oven. And and he left a note, which was very sparse, and basically his note was that he was unable to see how he could get out of his problems, and that and he felt burdened by the burden that he was putting on nobody, really. He didn't have an extended family or responsibilities like that, but he felt burdened, and that's why he decided to remove himself. And that, I understand how difficult it is for people, and I don't. My personal feeling is that life is not really as magnificent and fabulous and wonderful and all these things. It's not like cherries and all these kind of things. So basically, if somebody chooses to take themselves out, while it's hurtful and shocking and difficult, there's a part of me that kind of understands it, because he really didn't want to be here. It wasn't really something he could manage. I could see he was going down this edge, and I was really, saddened by it, and I still am, because I still think of him from time to time, about some of the sort of collaborations that we had and some of the energy that he exhibited, and I just kind of wondered, if he wouldn't have really benefited from some meds or, something that might have been actually able to help him kind of come out of those places that were really, where you fall off the edge.
Do you think that out of the people that you know, because you mentioned that he was the first one, out of the people that you know, do you think that maybe they were a bit hasty, or that there were options that they couldn't see?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought that for him. I mean, you do wonder, like, why didn't he come find me? I mean, why didn't he reach out? I mean, like, what was that despair? And so you do kind of wonder. I mean, on the other side of that, I had another colleague of mine who, was on meds, and, he took himself out in his father-in-law's, library and just shot himself in the head. I mean, and so, so it's like, at some games, I'm not so sure you can win, through pharmaceuticals. I mean, I'm not so sure you can win with pharmaceuticals at all, but I'm imagining that, there might be some benefit. I do know people who tell me that they benefit from it, and so that I believe. So, but yeah, I think that there's a certain level where if the person that's remaining or the people that are remaining, there's a lot of questions about, why didn't he reach out to us? Why did he go down that deep end? I mean, and what was that despair that would make him make those choices? Because it's a choice. I mean, it's a certain kind of a choice. I mean, it wasn't a random thing. It was like he literally removed himself from the situation at hand, and he taped up windows. I mean, it was really planned it. And so, it makes me sad, really.
So do you think, basically I define suicide in kind of 4 stages. There's debilitating depression, because I kind of start with debilitating depression, because, you remove the idea that everybody gets depressed from now and then. But the idea, there's debilitating depression, there is suicidal ideation, there's suicidal behaviors, and then that you actually executed it.
Right.
And what do you think, stage 1, debilitating depression, and stage 2, suicidal ideation, what do you think those gaps are, and have you had that in your own life?
Well, I mean, everybody gets depressed, and you, I have strategies, basically I move, I get busy, I put on music loud, I dance, I go out, walk around and feel the ocean. I mean, there's certain things that I would do that would, sort of remove me from those darker places. And that I think there's some level where, people are quite alone in their world. I mean, I think there's some level where they just really are, not comfortable exposing themselves, or not even able to really articulate, how they might even feel. I mean, some of it's very, systemic, and that, Michael specifically was very, as I say, like things that would be like a bump in the road for somebody else, was really a lot for him to handle, and he didn't really have the personal resources, and that I think there's this thing where he just, kind of lost control of it, and I do think that, at the end of this story with him, the fact that he had made an effort to take himself out, his determination was really pretty shocking in a way, because it just surprised me that somebody would go to that extent. Because, and it's been something that has puzzled me my whole life, honestly, is what makes somebody go from having an idea to executing that idea. Now, I'm an artist, so I'm used to seeing people having a crazy idea and trying to make it into a formidable idea, and those are all really important processes. But how do you go from feeling really down to actually removing yourself from Earth? There's a whole level to that is really, it's been a fascination in a way that I never have given up on, because I don't really understand it, and that I I appreciate the difficulties that people face. I mean, I think people face a lot of hardships and heartbreak that maybe you can't get back from, and that and I don't think Michael could get back from, and so it made me really, on the one hand, it made me respect him because he determined his own future, which was a little sad for me personally, but at the same time, I think maybe he was in a better place, perhaps. I mean, we don't know what goes on from here, and so if you're extremely unhappy, unless you can make efforts to turn those things around, I feel badly that that somebody would go to that extent. I mean, as the person remaining, I just was puzzled. Why didn't he come over?
And if you could have said something to him, in other words, if you had kind of stumbled upon a note, stumbled upon a message from him,
right? Yeah.
Or just got something from him,
right.
What would you have said?
Well, I mean, I would have told him that, he should really get busy, get busy trying to do the things he wants to do, or we can get busy together. I mean, I do think that you can really dwell on yourself in a way that become very unhealthy, and that, and so I mean, that's what I would really, sort of encourage him to do, is to I mean, we were dancers, so, I'd be work on your plie, dude. I mean, work on your turnout. I mean, there's certain things that you could do that, if you really want to internalize, there's things that you could do that you would be able to do that. But the thing, ultimately, it was my first experience with that kind of human experience, and it was something that was the first time I ever saw somebody who had a real serious eating disorder, for example, and it just never occurred to me that you would do that to yourself. I mean, it just wouldn't be. I just blew my mind, and that and I realized that I must be in la la land to some degree, because I wouldn't, it just wouldn't occur to me to live on crackers, and only crackers, and that, until you get hospitalized. I mean, it just wouldn't occur to me that, if I was going down that avenue, that I would not speak up. It's not all equal. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that people get, you can only take it from your point of view, I mean, you have your experiences, you've got your history, you've got your genealogy, whatever you got going on. So I think that, I mean, I really do think that it's hard to feel you feel left out, you feel like you kind of got betrayed. I mean, I understand those abandonment issues, and I could really appreciate them, but I don't believe that person intended to make you suffer. I think they were really thinking of themselves, and so I don't believe that they, really considered the consequences of what their actions were, and I don't think that really, was really even a part of the equation, really. And so, in a way, I think that, I mean, I know somebody recently who was explaining to me about his boyfriend coming and moving in with him, and how he was surprised that this, he had really serious depressive issues, and so it was his first time for really, really, kind of getting his head around it, and I think his thing is that he said at first he was kind of just get over it, dude. I mean, just shape it up. I mean, come on. And that, and that's not really enough for people. I mean, for some people. I think that, you have to really accept people for how they are. And if you really appreciate them, then you have to really appreciate them, which means that you have to be patient with them. And also, I do believe that if you have the opportunity to help change somebody's point of view, you're responsible to do that. And that if you should really step up if you feel like you have an opportunity. You may not have the opportunity, but if you feel like you have even the slightest opportunity, take take a little courage and step up to that person and try to get them to see it from a different point of view. Or, just really try to, I had children, so like if they were crying and doing crazy things, I would take them outside and be like, hey, check out this, and then they would be shocked, or whatever. I mean, you would just like really trick them, really, and I do think that some of happiness is really about tricking yourself, like just deciding that is it worth me getting upset over, if you can change it, then you have the ability to and the responsibility. But if you can't, or if it's like really so huge that all you're doing is making your little chip, be happy making that chip. I mean, because you might not be able to change the world. We might not be able to develop a better program for humanity. But, at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't be the best person you are every day. And that, and also, the person that, Michael, for example, I didn't see it coming. So I don't know that I really would have had much. I mean, it was such an eye-opener for me because it really, was the first time that I ever experienced somebody really, falling apart and not being able to get back together. And, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, I can't imagine that he would have been able to, really see the tunnel the way I saw it.